Okay, it says we're live. So, hey everyone, we are using a third-party system to broadcast live today on my coffee and colorful conversation. So, welcome back. Hope you have your coffee and I hope you have your tissues and your open mind and are ready for some woo-woo. I warned you guys ahead of time that this was going to be totally different than my normal coffee chats, but I'm really excited that this was unexpected. We spontaneously added this live interview in with Ginger from Sensible Woo. And she is the one that gave me the reading that I kind of teased you guys about and said that I wanted to share on the coffee chat. So many universal synchronicities in how we even met. We both joined this business group virtually through a website that I was telling her we had coffee yesterday. And I said, I don't even know how the heck I ended up in that group. It was a very business. It had nothing to do with hair. And we had homework and they put us into groups. And I was teaching at the Orlando Hair Show while the homework was happening. And I would literally come home from teaching at the show and I was in Disney I had brought my niece to Disney and I'm doing homework at midnight. My kids are like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't even know. I have to do homework on a Tesla. Like it had nothing to do with hair or anything in my world. But Ginger and I got put into the same group. There was only 7 of us in the group.
Only 7.
And she reached out and said, hey, let's keep in touch after this group. I would love to chat with you. And because, of the internet and Facebook and all these things tech, I had no idea where she lived. So I was like, that would be awesome. Let's have coffee virtually and get to know each other. So we had coffee and she was at Panera. I was home and one thing led to another. And I found out that she does these readings. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm having a retreat in Florida. And I've been trying to find someone to do like a really cool, either astrology or a psychic medium or some sort of fun activity that's completely unrelated to hair, just to like break up the seriousness of a hair retreat. Like I want it to be all things cohesive, mind, body, spirit. That's what a retreat is all about. So, and you piped up and said, I do that. I can do that. And I was like, well, I don't know if I can afford to fly you here. I live in St. Pete. And you're like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I just moved here from, where were you from?
We came from Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. So I was like, you're here in Florida. And you're like, yes, I'm like 30 minutes from Clearwater. And so it began our friendship that blossomed out of the tech world. And I signed up for a reading with you before our coffee in-person meeting. We were supposed to meet yesterday and our reading was on Friday. And oh my God, I've had so many tarot, psychic mediums for, bringing people that have passed. I've had past life regression, which we talked about in my reading. And I'm the type of person that, for those of you watching, like some of you are gonna be like, I'm out, she's woo. Like some people won't even get a tea leaf reading. They won't get a card reading. They think it's all, you're going to get this evil spirit following you around. Like I love it. I enjoy it. And I use it as a guide to maybe like waking up to something that I'm not seeing, but I don't take it to the point where I'm like, well, the spirit said, and I have to quit my job and move to another state. And like, I don't use it to be my mother and tell me what to do. I'm very, I can keep my head on straight and kind of find a balance. But this particular reading was beyond anything I've ever done. And, I sent you the email the day after and we talked about it at coffee. So let's first have you talk about what it is that you do, kind of introduce what the reading is and what the purpose is. And then we'll get into the spilling the tea on my fabulous weekend of a lifetime after the reading. So it's all you, Ginger.
Oh, thanks. That's a great introduction. So you had a reading with me and with my partner in life and in work, Tiffany Alexa. We do joint readings. She and I channel through your Akashic records. And your Akashic records, as we were talking about, it's the best, simplest, high-level explanation is it's your soul records. So sometimes people get fixated on past lives, and it does include past lives, but it's really guidance from your higher counsel, from your higher self. Sometimes deceased loved ones will come through in a reading and talk to you as well. It just really depends on what the most important messages are that are coming through at that time. I go into the Akashic through the tarot. Tiff goes in through pure channeling. And between the two of us, I was explaining to you yesterday, Elaine, you were asking me, like, what does it feel like in a reading? And the best way I could describe it is it almost feels like if Tiff and I stood back to back and linked our arms, and then we spun around and observed everything and just told you what we saw. That's kind of what it feels like during a reading for us. So we like to say that we get a 360-degree view. We're very yin and yang in our lives, period. So we usually pick up on the opposite things. And the really neat thing about the dual reading is, you know, whenever you're talking with a reader, it's just like hair, right? Having a relationship with your hairstylist is a very personal thing. And the same thing is true of your metaphysical readers. So in this case, sometimes Tiff will be getting a very clear, very strong message, and the other person's not, our client is maybe not quite getting like the real meat of it. And then sometimes it'll come through me in another way, and I'll explain it from another direction, and then they start to get more of the whole and complete picture. So the tarot is really nice. I like using tarot because it's a visual medium. For me, you know, if you think of your Akashic records as being your soul's records, I am actually a librarian in real life. So it probably makes sense that I get information in this way. But the cards will come out. I'll sometimes see numbers or see spreads in front of me, and they'll just show me, like, this is how we need you to lay this out about this issue. And I'll throw down the cards. And it almost feels to me as a reader like I'm being handed documents or books, and I literally just read them. So when Tiff and I do a reading, she gets things channeled. I usually just let her channel and let it get out, because she's literally just repeating everything that's coming to her. And then once that deluge has happened, in the meantime, all these documents have been laying out in front of me, and then we can re-examine it from another angle and just keep going deeper and deeper and peeling back those layers of whatever is in front of you.
So Tiff had said during my reading that she felt that she got so much more because I was so open to it.
Yeah.
And I always agree with that. I've had people go with me. We went for a tea leaf reading years ago. I was in my early 20s.
I love this thing.
And there was like 5 of us, and everybody's like, you go first, you go first. Like, you would have thought we were going to the electric chair. Like, they were terrified. And I'm like, this woman is drinking some tea and she's going to spill her leaves and tell you something. Like, take it or don't take it, you know, whatever. You're taking this way too seriously. But she said to me, honey, you need glasses. And at the time, I was like taking Advil every day for these like really bad headaches in my eyes. So I was like, you know, in high school and grade school, you're made to go and get an eye test every year. But as an adult, you just don't go. So I could read, I could see, like, I never felt the need for glasses. Nothing seemed blurry, but my one eye was overcompensating for the other, and it was causing strain, which was causing headaches. And I just keep taking these Advil to get rid of the headaches. And I was like, oh my gosh, I had to go to a tea leaf reader to know that I needed glasses. But I've had glasses ever since. So it's small little things like that. And I enjoy it. I just take it lightly. And, you know, I always am open to whatever comes. And while the things that she was saying, like, I sent my recording. I love that you record it, number one. You know, a lot of people will say, well, don't you have to be there in person? Because I always thought that too. I'm like, how can you read somebody through a camera? But it's just an energy thing. And I get it now. So Tiff's like, oh my gosh. She keeps saying like how heavy everything is. And she's saying everything. And I'm like, yes. Every single thing was spot on. And then you kept saying, 6 o'clock, you need to be, something's at 6. And I'm like, honey, I hope it's 6 figures, because I just started a new business and I'm a nervous wreck. I have a son in college. And
that was everywhere too.
Yeah. So I was like, please tell me. And you're like, well, yeah, but there's something else with this 6. And Tiff says, you need to be your spirits, or tell your soul. What did she call them? Your counsel. What was the word for the people that are talking to her?
It was your counsel.
Okay.
You know, we talk to your counsel. So it's kind of like if there's like a fuzzy telephone connection and we're on the other line with them. I guess maybe that's a good analogy for it. It's not that you're disconnected from your counsel, but sometimes until you can attune to that and become more open to it, it's harder to hear the full message or even the whole message. Sometimes pieces of it come in, and then that's when people start questioning, like, well, that doesn't make sense. Like, I get these little signs during the day, but what the hell does that mean? And a lot of times it's meant for you just to learn to start relaxing and allowing. And before you know it, all kinds of crazy things happen. Like last night, long day. We met in the morning, and then I was out until way in the evening. I get home really late, and there's this gigantic bullfrog on our doormat in front of our door. And I looked up frog medicine, and I knew instantly, it's like I could hear the frog's voice telling me, look up my totem medicine for you, because I had just had a conversation with you, Elaine, earlier in the morning about bobcat medicine. And I knew that this animal energy was following me around. It had something to tell me. And so I looked it up this morning. It was pretty powerful. It was quite amazing. And so these signs, like, they come to you, and it's really easy to dismiss them. Sometimes we think, oh, that's just a coincidence, or oh, that can't possibly apply, or that seems silly, or I must be imagining it. But a lot of times, most of the time, that's just not the case, that it is some gentle message. And I don't remember where I first heard this, but I love that, if you, the message is like, if you were to receive like the big message from on high, the big ultimate sign, the prophecy, like almost none of us are in a position to receive a message like that. It would flatten us in our daily lives. And so we're meant to get messages in a more gentle format. And when we're having a reading with somebody, they're not these doom and gloom situations. And with my longtime tarot clients, I've always said, you can get a reading from anybody. If you end up, though, at some point getting a reading with somebody who's telling you, you must do this, or, on this date, this thing's going to happen. I have never experienced readings where it's so definite. It's not fortune telling. It's really much more of like an active meditation. It's a way for you to dive deep and find healing through things that you're kind of carrying around through life. It's time to let them go so that you can make space in your life for bigger and better things, so you can achieve the dreams, like the 6-figure income, or, having a life of travel, or whatever it is that you're desiring. So that's really how we approach all of our readings and the messages that come to us in our daily lives too. And sometimes it's hard, you go through tough seasons where sometimes you don't want to hear the truth. We want to hear what we want to hear. It happens to everybody. Happens to me. Are we frozen?
I was going to say, I lost you. I was trying to look on Facebook to see if you were frozen there. So we're back now. Hope Jeff. Because it won't come up on my phone. Are we live still, Jeff?
You're desiring. So that's really how we approach.
He's not answering me. Anne said okay. So I think we're good. So where were you? I don't know where you left off.
Basically, don't if you've never had a reading, or if you've had a bad reading, which is almost worse in my opinion. We're good.
Yeah.
Just don't you can't believe that. It's nobody can tell you what your ultimate destiny is. We all have free will. We have the ability to change our stars. We have the ability to make good choices and bad choices. And, a good reading is meant to give you confirmation and consolation and guidance so that you can make better decisions or let go of things that are old, make room for the new. That's really what a good reading should do for you.
Well, I can tell you, not being a suck up, this was the most powerful, most amazing reading I've ever had. And I've had many.
Thank you.
So the 6 o'clock theme, let's start with that. So my husband, my daughter, my two best friends, everybody in my life keeps saying, God, woman, do you ever stop? Like, you are on 24/7. You have to give yourself a day off, like Sundays, Saturday, no matter what day it is. I'm pushing, creating things, posting on social media, doing classes, popping up, doing little videos. They're like, when do you ever stop? I'm like, I just love it. Like, if I'm sitting with 6 hours of nothing to do, I'm like, why not create something or do something that's going to help somebody else? So I'm thinking that by being an overachiever and doing that I'm going to be more successful and more embraced by the universe, that it can't possibly be negative. So when everybody tells me slow down, and I'm like, no, you slow down. You're lazy. Like, I consider everybody else lazy, and they're like, you're crazy. And I'm like, well, you're lazy. So when I told my daughter about our reading, she was like, can I just say that I've been telling you all of this stuff and you haven't listened? And I said, I 100% agree. You were absolutely right. And she's like, yeah, you need, a reading to tell you to slow down. But this is what happened. I fought you too. I'm an equal opportunity fighter. So I heard the 6 o'clock thing, and Tiff said, your counsel is telling me you need to be on the beach for the sunrise, and you need to go out at 6 a.m. And I'm like, bitch, I don't get up at 6 a.m. for anything but a flight to a fabulous location. Like, that's never happening, 6 a.m. So you guys laughed about it. And I was like, I mean, I'll try, but morning's not my thing. Can I go at 8? And she's like, no, they're saying no, it has to be that early. I'm like, great. So I had said in the beginning of the reading that my husband was away. My daughter lives in Philadelphia. My son is in Tampa, but had friends visiting. And my one friend that's local was in Jamaica. So I was completely 100% alone in this new land that I live in. And I was a little anxious about it. I was like, oh man, eating meals 3 times a day by myself. And how much TV can you watch? You know what? I'm just going to work because I have videos that I still need to get done. So how great that nobody's going to interrupt me and I don't have to worry about closing the door and putting a little note, filming, all that stuff. So Tiff's like, it's not an accident that you're totally alone. Like, your counsel has set this up this way so that you would have this reading and you would get this message. So I really want you to go for a walk and go see the sunrise. So I go to bed, and I have to preface this with, a week before, when I was going to bed, I had a bobcat do his little roar above my head. And I'm like, what the hell? I did not move to Africa. I moved to St. Pete Beach. Why do I have a bobcat? It sounds like he's in my ear in my bed in the middle. It was like 2:30 in the morning. My husband heard it. He comes flying in. We're like, what the hell? That was a week ago. So the 6 a.m. thing, I'm going to bed. I'm like, oh, bobcat, please don't come back. My husband's not here. Like, I'm going to be terrified if you come back. Like, what do you mean? Why are you here? So I go to sleep, and I don't set an alarm to get up at 6. And I said to myself and to you, you know what? If I happen to wake up because I have a million hot flashes, if it's even close to 6 a.m., I will get up and I'll go for the walk. So I go to sleep. I'm like so hot, and I whip off the covers, and I do my usual where I go to the bathroom and I pick up my phone, and it's 6 o'clock on the dot on a digital on my phone, not on an analog clock where I could say, oh, it looks like almost 6 o'clock. It was 6:00. So I'm like, shit, these soul guides are like waking me out of bed, making me go on this walk. And I can't ignore this because I've ignored everything else. This is something I've never tried. So why not? It's one walk. It's one morning. If you're tired later, Tiff also said during the reading that I don't nap enough. I always think of napping as being lazy. So when I get tired, I drink coffee and I keep going. So I was like, she said I have permission to nap. So I'm just going to go. And if I get tired, I get tired. So I throw on some little bike shorts and a big baggy t-shirt, and I grab my cell phone because I was like, okay, I'm alone. Like, I want to be able to call for help if I get attacked by the bobcat. So, and I wanted to have the flashlight because it's pitch black. There's still stars in the sky. It is so dark. I've never seen this neighborhood so dark. And we're in Snowbirdville, so nobody lives here. Like, we are almost alone in this whole neighborhood. So during the reading, Tiff had said that the raven is my spirit animal and that the birds are the ones that try to bring me these messages. And I'm like, oh my God, birds are always around me. And I get annoyed on the beach. I'm like, dude, this beach is so big. Can't you go somewhere else? They're always around me. So I'm like, that makes total sense. So the further I got on the walk, the louder the birds got, to the point where I get to this one tree. And in the reading, Tiff kept jokingly calling me Pocahontas, because she was saying Pocahontas never gave up. She never backed down. And that this land that I moved to, which I did not know, is the sacred land of Indians. And that this certain tribe here were the ones that never gave up, that never backed down. And that's how Pocahontas is. So then the rest of the reading, you guys kept calling me Pocahontas. We laughed about it. Well, then I shared with you that in a past life regression years ago, they hypnotized me, brought me back to a former life, and I was freaking Pocahontas. I had the braids, I wore the shirt. It was this color, that like loincloth Pocahontas, little jaggedy, dress. And my feet were bare. Now in the reading, I'm in sneakers. So in this regression and this hypnotism, I have bare feet and my feet are on clay, chalky clay, red earth. I could see that Indian clay earth. So I was like, oh my God, you girls are freaking me out. Like I was told that whole Indian thing years ago. So now it's like all coming together and this is really crazy. And I'm loving every minute of this. So I'm walking and there's this big twisty grandmother willow looking tree that's on my way to the beach. And there had to be 50 black raven birds just going to town, just they were having a council meeting. And I was like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. Keep walking, keep following whatever the hell this is and just let it play out. So I cross the street and I do my usual. I enter into the beach at this cute little hotel and there's this doorway opening. And where I am when I'm walking in, it's still pitch black, stars in the skies. You can't even see the hand in front of your face. And I go through the doorway and I get on the beach and it is so bright that it was like a Disney Hollywood Studios set where they have those giant lights shining on something, but everything else is dark. The whole sky was lit up so brightly. I've seen 3 sunrises, including this one, in my 52 years of life. I've never wake up and see a sunrise. So I was like, oh my gosh, if there's not even anything woo-woo going on, just the fact that you got me here to see this was worth the price of admission. I would never have done this. So I'm like, okay, walk towards the ocean. And one of the things that Tiff said in the, spirit reading was that I need to let some shit go and I need to forgive, not for the other person, but for me. Mm-hmm. So I get to the beach. I'm the only one on the beach. Like there's nobody else there. They need to have readings by you guys. We need to get our meetings going. So I'm totally alone and I just start crying. And I'm like, I'm letting it go. I'm forgiving. I look like a crazy person. I'm like, thank God nobody's here because I'm going with it. I'm just like, I forgive you. I forgive anybody that I'm holding on to anything. I forgive you. The daily truth bomb that I get on my phone every single day, that day said, decide to let it go. Like every single synchronicity and theme was like coming together. The freaking birds are surrounding me. I felt like I was in St. Mark's Square in Venice. There was like so many birds. It was ridiculous. And normally I'd be like, move, go away, you dirty animals. So I'm like, okay, guys, what do you got for me? What's next? Keep walking. It's getting brighter. The sun's starting to come up. I get to like my absolute favorite dream house. We talked at coffee yesterday and we both said we were obsessed with like the Grace and Frankie house. So there's a very Grace and Frankie-esque on the beach, low rise, little cottagey looking thing. And it has 4 bright green Adirondack chairs on the porch. And there's 4 of us, my husband, my son, my daughter, and I. There were 4. So I'm like, I'm going to own that house someday. Like I say it every time I walk by. So I get to that house and whatever made me turn, I just turned to the left and there is the big ball of sun literally over that house. Like you wouldn't be able to see it there's big tall buildings surrounding it. You wouldn't even be able to see the sun from anywhere else. It's right over that house. I'm like, click, 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 click. I'm taking all these pictures. I'm like, I have to document this because no one would believe me when I tell them. keep walking. My other favorite happy place is the Don Cesar Hotel. I go there once a month to the spa. These guys that follow me on my coffee chats, I'm always going live from there in my robe saying like, take care of yourself, get facials, get massages, self-care, blah, blah, blah. So I'm walking towards the Don, and now the sunrise is like over the Don. It's beautiful. The sky is all lit up, pink, blue, all these colors. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is the best day of my life. I'm smiling from ear to ear. I have no nervousness, no like, oh my gosh, I'm by myself or whatever. So I look down in the sand, and there's a freaking Indian teepee sand village, like multiple teepees in the sand with like sticks that you would find on the beach as the top. And I'm like, okay, I've lived here almost a year. I go to the beach all the time. I've never seen an Indian teepee village made out of sand ever in my life.
People build them on the beach.
Take a picture. And then you guys had said, look for the feathers. Every time I walk on the beach, I look for shells. If I see feathers, I'm like, oh, that poor soul got a feather plucked out of his ass, poor thing. Like I wouldn't even resonate with a feather in a million years. And I feel like birds are dirty, and I wouldn't want to touch a feather that came out of a bird's ass. So you're like, when you see it, you're going to know it. Like it's not going to be a tiny little thing. Like it's going to get your attention. So I walk by the teepee village, and I'm just, oh my gosh, this is still so great. And take a couple more steps, and there's this giant feather, and very unique, very dark and long and thick, and it had like a really hard point to it. So I picked it up, and she had said, when you see the feather, ask it a question. So I did the whole ritual, and I'm like, I'm keeping this feather. I want to put this in where I save my normal shells. I want to keep this feather. So I do my question, whatever. I turned to walk, but I didn't want it to end. I wanted to just keep walking, but I was like, I got to go home at some point. So by now the sun's totally up. You know, everybody's starting to do their power walking. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So I turn around and I look, and it's getting like kind of stormy cloud looking on the one side. And there's this little faint part of a rainbow. And I was like, oh, damn, it's not going to show up on my camera. It's too dark. I'm like, but that's so cool. It's like the kind of yin and yang that we talked about in the reading. It's like it's stormy and gross, but it's so beautiful, this part of the rainbow. All things I would never notice in a million years. And again, here's my ADD. What I didn't tell you is, backtrack a little bit. The night of the reading, Friday night, I'm still processing all this stuff. I'm by myself. I decided to go to a Thai restaurant. This is important. That's why I have to have the ADD. But remind me where I am on the rainbow too. Okay. So I'm at this Thai restaurant, and everyone that's been to any kind of ethnic restaurants, like a Thai restaurant is not going to have your regular songs on the radio. It's going to be like there's no normal song. It's kind of just like background Asian music. So I'm sitting there and I'm like noticing the music, and Whitney Houston is on the radio. And I'm like, oh, that's so sad that Whitney, died so young. She's so amazing, her voice. And when you eat by yourself, you notice shit, like you're not talking to somebody else. You're kind of like, I eavesdrop on other tables. This lady was being really loud. So I was like trying to block her out. And I'm trying to pay attention to the music. And after Whitney, the fucking theme song of Pocahontas comes on the radio in the Thai restaurant. I'm like, number one, people, when's the last time you ever heard the theme of Pocahontas on the radio? Like, we're talking Colors of the Wind, Should I Marry Kocoum, Grandmother Willow. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that. I held my phone up. I'm like recording it because I'm like, no one would believe me that this is happening. That is what made me get out of bed at 6. When I woke up, I was like, wow, this is weird that I'm up at 6. And I'm like, you know what? Freaking Pocahontas played at the Thai restaurant. Like, this is a breadcrumb theme here. This is Hansel and Gretel. I got to follow this trail. I got to see this through. So back to the rainbow. So are we good? Yeah. So looking at this rainbow, and I'm like willing it to get brighter and bigger so it shows up on my damn picture, because you all know all we care about is the picture, the photo evidence now. None of us live in the moment. So many people, it became this big left to right connected, most beautiful rainbow I've ever seen in my entire life. And everyone, I was standing just looking at it with my jaw hanging open because I had just done my little feather thing, and I asked a question, and this rainbow shows up, and I'm just like crying, filming it. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And all these people are walking by with their head down on their phone.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, hey. And I'm going like this, like, pull your earphones out. I'm like, do you see that? And they're like, oh, wow, that's cool. And they keep going. And I'm like, that's me. Like, that person is me. I'm the one on the beach looking down, looking for the shell, not letting things show up. So I'm looking at I can't walk away from this rainbow. I'm just like, oh my, and the weirdest part about the whole thing is it did not rain. Rainbows come after the rain. It did not rain. So I was like, where the hell did this beautiful gift from the universe come from without the rain? So as I'm filming it, I start seeing like flecks of rain on my glasses. And I'm like, I start looking around, and like, there's the lady jogging, there's the people holding hands walking, and they're all dry. They're all completely dry. They don't have a speck of rain on them. And there's this shadow around me in like a 2 by 2 foot space under the rainbow. Everything is like shadowed here, and there's sun here, and there's sun here, and everybody's dry. And I'm so like wet, like my shirt's wet, my glasses are wet. I'm like, and so now I pull out my phone and I'm saying, oh my God, I'm freaking out. I'm looking at a rainbow. I'm getting wet, and no one else on the beach is getting wet. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So now I start walking back to the house, and on my way back, the hotel that I enter the beach on has these little covered wooden roofs, and there's beach chairs underneath it. So now it's pouring. And the song, one of my favorite songs, is the Natasha Bedingfield song, Feel the Rain on Your Skin. No one else can feel it for you. No one else can let it. So that song is in my head, and the phrase, today is where your book begins, the rest is still unwritten, is in my head as I'm getting soaking wet. And you guys, I forgot that detail. You guys said you need to write again. You wrote your book. You need to write your book, the book about you, not about hair color, not about all that stuff, your book. And I was like, I started it a few years ago, and then I was like, I don't know how to put it all together because it's such random stories. How do you even make that? And you were like, don't worry about that. Just brain dump and start writing again. So I was like, this song is in my head out of nowhere. Today is where your book begins. The rest is still unwritten. I'm like, okay, I'm smiling. I'm soaked. I look like a crazy person. My shirt's sticking to me. I'm soaking wet, and I'm smiling from ear to ear. And I haven't had coffee yet. Anybody that knows me knows I'm not smiling an hour and a half after I'm awake and I haven't had coffee. So I walk under this covered thing, and there's this girl sitting there, and I'm the type of person, I'll say, hi, good morning, but I won't just walk up to you and be like, hi, what's your name? Want to be my friend? And you know what it's like. You just moved here too. So it's like weird. You don't know how to make friends, and you don't know how to get the conversation starting. But I was like, okay, we're the only two at the beach, and we're here, and this is weird. And I turned to her and I said, you don't know me, and I don't know if you even want to have this conversation, but I got to talk to somebody about what just happened back there, because I need to know that you're really real, that you're really a person, and you're really here right now, because so much weird shit is happening to me. I need to touch you and make sure you're real. And she starts cracking up. And of course, she wouldn't be somebody who wouldn't understand the woo. The universe wouldn't have sent some grumpy old lady that's like, who are you? Are you on crystal meth? That just wasn't going to happen. So I trusted that she was open. So I sit down, and I'm like trying to wipe my glasses off, and we're talking about like why she's in St. Pete, how she ended up getting there. And she said, oh, I'm a writer. I'm here to finish my autobiography. I'm a ghostwriter, and I've written for many books that you would know of, but I can't tell you because I'm a ghostwriter. But I had to come here. There was some reason that I was drawn to St. Pete. I've never been here before. I'm from New York, and my husband's at home. I come by myself when I want to write. I lost my mom recently, and the information in the book doesn't make her look really good. Like, I'm concerned that I'm like disrespecting her now that she's passed by sharing that information, but I also feel like it needs to be shared. And I said, there's probably a lot of people that need to hear that story, because they may be having that with their own parents and think that they're the only one going through that. So I said, I hope that you get the message that you're looking for, that it's okay to let that, it's the truth. You know what I mean? You're not making it up. You're not defaming her and making her look like a bad person. It's just the truth. So we're talking and I was like, I know I'm meant to meet you, but I'm Pocahontas. So like, do you have any feathers on your tattoos? She had this big sleeve tattoo. So she's like, no, no feathers, just books. So she points to her arm and she has this stack of books. And I'm like, okay, I'm meant to meet you because that song was just in my head about today's the day, write your book, all that. And then I was like, but I got to look at the rest of your ink because there's another reason that I'm meeting you. And I looked down and she has those like loose pajama bottom kind of pants that you get in Asia that are real super comfy. They usually have elephants on them or some kind of crazy pattern. And her whole entire leg was one gigantic feather. It was like this multicolored, like almost, what's the bird that opens up its thing and has all the colors? Ostrich. It was like a giant ostrich feather down her leg. So I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, okay, we're meant to talk. So we just kept talking. And then I took a picture of her sleeve. And when I got home and I pinched in and went in closer, freaking Pocahontas, this girl's leaping off the stack of books and she looks just like Pocahontas. And I'm like, oh my God, she did have Pocahontas on her arm. Like, this is crazy. This is so crazy. All of these different things that are happening. So I didn't even tell you this at breakfast. So the next day, Tiff had said at one point, I'm torn between the owl and the bird for you. She's like, they're both winged creatures and you're a winged creature. You're like up here and everybody else is down here trying to figure shit out. And you're up here saying, but I know, and I'm trying to tell you how to figure it out. And I'm trying to teach you. Why are you not listening? And I'm walking on the beach again, because this is the story. You know, I hate 6 a.m. Every single morning since the reading, I've been up at 6 a.m. on that damn beach, having more miracles every single day. So the one day I was like disappointed because I'm like, sunrise wasn't that great. It was cloudy. It wasn't that great of a day, but I did write in my journal and I had a great writing session. I like brain dumped about 3 chapters of the book. So I'm walking back and this woman who's like 10 years older than me, she has like a visor on. Like, she's so not someone that I would say, oh, I want to hang out with her. She's cool. But there was something about her that made me walk up and start talking to her on the way back. And she had a bag in her hand with shells. And I said, oh, you're the reason I can't find my special shell today. You wiped out the beach. And she said, no, actually, I'm picking up bottle caps. You can't believe how much plastic people leave on the beach. And we start talking about the no straw thing and the turtles and the plastic. One thing led to another, and she said, I'm going to Africa. And I said, oh my gosh, that's on my bucket list. Nobody wants to go with me because it's so far. And she goes on a mission through her church. And she said, I said, oh, what church? I said, I'm new here. I need to meet people. But I said, I'm kind of a recovering Catholic. Like, I don't really resonate with going to church on Sunday in the Catholic church anymore. I'm more spiritual. Learning about my inner Pocahontas. And I was like, I'm not going to talk to this lady about all this woo because she's definitely not a woo like, I wasn't getting the woo vibe at all. So she goes, can I walk with you? And I was like, sure. So we start walking together and, oh, where are you from? And what brings you to Florida? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, I live about an hour and a half from here, but I'm here because I have an early flight to catch. And this is closer to the airport. She said, I lost my husband 6 years ago. He was hit by a 17-year-old that was texting. So we started talking about that. And I don't even know where it came from, but she said, I said something woo, a little bit woo. I said, oh, I had this reading and they told me to walk on the beach and I've been enjoying it every morning. I'm so happy to meet people like you. And I wouldn't be out here if it wasn't for that reading. And she said, oh my God, I said something about the bird. And she said, oh, I said, has your husband come to see you since he passed? Do you have any fun stories about like him coming as a butterfly, or people could talk about cardinals and all that? And she said, I'm embarrassed to tell you the story. You're going to judge me. And I said, oh, honey, no one's weirder than me. I don't judge like at all. So I said, bring it. I love a good dead man story. Like, what did he do? She said, because we live on 150 acres, I sleep in the nude. And now that he's not here, I still sleep in the nude. That's just the way that I sleep. And she said, I have no curtains. So she said, I was woken up randomly in the middle of the night and I looked out the window and there's the most beautiful owl staring at me, checking out my boobs. She said, I could totally see him like looking at my boobs. And I just laughed. And I was like, that's my husband coming to see me. So she said, I've had like 3 other times where this owl, who sees an owl? I have never seen an owl in nature. I've seen them at the zoo, but I haven't seen them in nature. So she's like, yeah, I really think that the owl is him. And I was like, well, now it's getting weirder because when I had that reading, they were torn between the owl being my spirit animal and the birds. So I'm like, I was meant to meet you about your husband's owl. For whatever reason, we're meant to meet. So we exchanged numbers, and I'm hoping to get onto one of her trips to do like a mission trip and help people. So that might be why I met her. Like, who knows? But it's just been one thing after the other. And I went from anxious, oh my gosh, I'm so alone weekend, to when are you coming home? I'm in the groove. I'm having peace, and I'm having like so much calm and just being at ease that I've never had ever. I'm anxious. I'm a mom. My kids are babies. Oh my gosh, I'm up all night. I'm exhausted. Oh, I have a new employee. I have to get her busy. I have to teach her. Like, I always had that morning heavy, what the hell? And where do I even start with my to-do list? And from the time we had the reading until this very moment right now, every morning I woke up, I refused to turn my computer on. I'm like, I need to rest and reset. I need to trust this. And the most beautiful part of this whole conversation is because I paused and rested, I actually earned more over the weekend doing nothing from people who were on the fence about my program. They were like, I don't know, I don't want to commit. And is it really going to be good? Like 5 people joined, and I didn't even really technically have it for sale. Like, they went into an old email that they might have had that was sitting in their inbox. I got the most beautiful email from a student saying that she's 50 years old. She just went to beauty school after all these years. Everybody told her she was crazy. She was following her passion. She said, I've been in the salon for 5 years and nobody will help me with hair color. When I ask a question, they just tell me what to mix. So she said, I've just been doing that, and I felt so stupid asking questions. And she said, I bought your program, and I cannot wait to go into work tomorrow because I finally get it. Like, the light bulb went off, and that's what I do. Like, that's the whole reason for this new business, was to make the light bulb go off for people. So I was like, oh my God, they really were right. Like, by me not going on and saying, come on, guys, what are you waiting for? What's holding you back? And being like, why are you not? Because in the reading you had said to me, because you're so passionate about being a teacher, you want to like dump the information into their head and make it happen so much quicker for them. And you're not stepping back and letting them, you're not teaching them how to fish. You're buying them fish and feeding them fish. And I was like, okay, that's so true. So anyone who follows me will notice in the last few days that my posts, none of them had anything to do with hair color. None of them had anything to do with, oh guys, we're going to have a program on 2 weeks from now. Don't forget to sign up. It was just like, give yourself a timeout. If you feel like crying, cry, take a break, reset. So it shifted my whole method of being to my students so that they can take the break long enough to know that they really do need the course, and that it's not about me, them getting the course. Sometimes people feel like, oh, whoa, what are you trying to sell me now? They don't get that it's a solution to their problem, and that it's going to be more to them than it ever is to me. They weren't getting that, and it was because of my delivery. So
I love that.
Thank you, wise owl, snake. Or not snake. Oh no, the bobcat. So the bobcat. We have to come back to the bobcat.
I love the bobcat.
So I'm terrified of this thing that landed on my roof. And I'm like, please don't come back, bobcat. You are not welcome here. I'm terrified of you. I don't even know what you do. When we Googled the bobcat, it showed a bobcat ripping a shark out of the ocean. So I was like, this guy has some moxie. I'm scared of him. I don't want him on my roof anymore. So the last day was yesterday that I took my walk, and I woke up at 6:10 and I was like, okay, I'm going, pitch black, the whole bit. I walk out of I can't get that damn Pocahontas song out of my head now because I'm trying to analyze the words. I'm like, okay, what other phrases mean something in that song? Because she says, should I choose the smoothest course, steady as the beating drum? This is not the smoothest course, this business of mine. Being behind the chair, owning a salon for 30 years was easy compared to this. So I'm like, okay. And she didn't marry Coquitlam. She didn't take the easy course. She went with John Smith. Okay, we're on the right path. So I'm listening to the words in my head, and I walk out of my house, and it's pitch black, same drill, walk up the same street I always walk up. And the words in the song were, Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon? Okay, the moon's out. It's dark out. I'm like, okay, there's the moon. And then it says, and ask the grinning bobcat why he grins. And I'm like, I look up and the fucking bobcat is like 10 feet ahead of me in the middle of the street. It's just me and him. Like there's no cars. There's no people. It's just me and the damn bobcat. And I'm like, okay, Tiffany and Ginger, I've trusted you up until now, and I totally know that I'm on the right path, but walking towards him is not an option. Like no cell phone is going to get me out of a bobcat attack. So I'm just going to believe that he's there and honor him and say, hey, you're showing me that you're really here and I'm not crazy, but I'm going to go this way and I'm going to let you tend to whatever mango or whatever you're going for there because I don't want to be your breakfast. So I walk the other way and I'm still smiling from ear to ear. I wasn't scared of him. I was just like, I don't want to go near him. Like I didn't feel like I needed to be near him. I feel like I just needed to see him. So I go and do the rest of my walk or whatever, see the bobcat. So then I'm talking to my best friend yesterday and she's like, who are these women? Where's the link? I need a reading. And I said, well, they're coming to my retreat. Like, just wait. No, I'm not waiting. I need a reading. So she'll be in touch. My daughter wants a reading. My son wants a reading. My friend wants a reading. So I sent her the recording and I said, watch it, whenever you want. And so I'm telling her about this bobcat. She goes, holy shit, Elaine, a bobcat, like who sees a bobcat in like rural suburban USA? I'm like, I know, right? So she's like, you need to see what that means. I said, well, I had breakfast with Ginger and she said it's a good thing. It's not like a creepy omen or anything. It's good. Really good. So I'm like, I'm going to go with that. So she goes, as soon as we hang up from this call, you need to Google the spiritual meaning of the bobcat. So I kept Googling spirit animal. I'm like, no, it's not my spirit animal. I want to know the meaning of the bobcat. Well, lo and behold, what do you think the meaning of the bobcat is? He is considered a sacred animal in the American Indian culture. So I'm like, oh my God, with the Pocahontas again. The bobcat, the Indians love the bobcat. He is like their person, their animal. And I was like, okay, bobcat, I'll leave a couple mangoes in the yard. You can come as long as you're bringing me good juju and you don't scratch my eyeballs out. We can be friends. So I don't even know where it's going from here, but I will continue to walk every morning that my eyeballs open. I actually missed the walk today. I never have missed. I hate exercise. Anyone that knows me knows I'll come up with any excuse not to exercise, especially at 6 a.m. But this morning, I knew we were doing this interview, and the last couple walks, I've gotten so drenched with the misty morning air. I was like, I don't feel like redoing my hair and all that, so I'm going to skip it. But I think when we come off of here, I think I'm going to go anyway and just go later because I feel like I've gotten so much from that connection just to nature and being back out on the beach, and I missed it so much. And during the interview, I said to you guys, it's just so hot. And you're like, we know, we live in Florida. That's why you go at 6 a.m. Stop having an excuse. So I'm going to shut up now and let you talk because I've taken over with my story.
I'm so glad everybody heard the whole story because, like you were saying, you were surprised to hear Tiff say about how open you were. And in the recording of your reading, I say it, and we talked about it yesterday morning too. And I've told Tiff, we were, digesting your reading as well. And I said, it's the first time in any reading where I've looked over my partner. I always sit on the left. She always sits on the right. And I look over at her and I can see the stream of information, like light coming in through her crown chakra and just coming right back out her mouth. And it just kept coming. And so I was like, okay. And the cards kept coming too. So I was really eager to read them for you and to tell you what the other parts of the messages that I was getting. But I just let her go, just keep going, because you're in a space of like, I'll hear it. I'll hear you out. I'll listen to you. And if you're going to have a really good reading, being in that space of accepting and allowing is the most powerful thing that you can do. The readings are so huge. They're so in-depth that it takes time for everything to absorb. And after a big reading like yours, there's always something in a reading for us. It's one of like the most beautiful gifts of being a reader. And the amazing thing was before your reading, I had also begun waking up early in the morning for these walks. And so sometimes when I get messages, they give me something I can relate to, and they kept showing, but yours was different. And they were showing me what I knew and then showing me how it was different. So I could tell you, I see the number 6, it's 6 a.m., like, yes, it's hot, but there's a reason you go early, and I could see the sun rising. And so I knew that was confirmation that, yes, you're supposed to do this thing. And that this would be very good for you. And then the amazing thing is, since you're reading, Tiff helped you find that piece about having me time, being with yourself, and not feeling like you have to work, but really like doing it for you. And it's so funny because in our lives, the same thing is about to happen to her next week. I leave on a business trip to Montreal. Our son is going to visit his father for a week. And all of a sudden she's left with the exact same situation. And we're like, how beautiful is that? There's all these synchronicities, like we're all in it together. And I just find that, that relationship and the readings that we develop with people, it's so beautiful. It's so wonderful. We've had multiple readings with some clients, and we just had one with one recently. She's had a handful of readings with us, and she was really going through like a tough season in life for a little while. And this last reading that we saw her, she was like a completely transformed woman. It was the most amazing thing. And her reading went even deeper into like these higher level things that she wants to achieve in life. So that was so exciting. I'm super excited for your retreat in February. I can't wait to meet everybody. Tiff and I, we are always available for readings, but we're also in the process now of getting ready to create some more content so people can get to know us a little bit better. But in that side of our business, everything's always grown really organically. We just trusted that the right people will come to us and they will find us, and it just keeps snowballing from there. So, I just feel like we were totally meant to meet.
Well, the business trip that you're going on is that group that we were in. And I said to you at breakfast, like, I don't even know how I ended up in that group, because it's such a different, I don't have that platform for my online courses. I don't know where, I really can't even trace back how I got into that course. So for the fact that you're leaving Tiffany to go on the 2-day event for that course, I'm not going, but that's how you and I met. And what I love too, and what stuck with me, because I watched back the recording, was Tiff planned on being the quiet one during this reading, and said to you, like, hey babe, you're going to have to really take this one, because I'm not feeling myself. I'm not feeling the energy of, being present for this the way that I normally do. So I don't want her to not get a good reading. I want you to take control. And you were quiet. And she was like, she was crying at one point. She's like, oh my gosh, this is so heavy. Like, oh my gosh. She's like, I don't even want to discuss details because it's so heavy. And I'm like, what? What's so heavy? But the point was, I didn't even need to know. Whatever the forgiveness piece was, she felt that heaviness and was like, just let it go, mama. Let it go, Pocahontas, her little accent. Let it go, Pocahontas. You got to let this go. And I'm like, oh my God. And I said to you yesterday, I'm like, I can't wait to meet her, because, I forgot about the hugs. So both of you said I don't get enough hugs. And I am married since 1991 to my husband. He's wonderful. He was not raised by huggers. He is not a hugger. And me and both my children, we constantly tease him about his wimpy hugs. Like, it's kind of like a, let me hurry up and get it over with, and I'll pat you like a school teacher. Like, okay, good hug, bring it up. So both of you said, you need more hugs. I was like, I do need more hugs, but my daughter's in Philadelphia. My son's in New Jersey. My husband's in New Jersey, or my son's in Tampa with his friends, and my husband's in New Jersey. Who the heck am I going to hug? Like, I don't even have neighbors to hug. So I was like, you know what? I'm on the way to the spa today, and there's a guy who works there, Randolph, who is the sweetest, happiest little man you've ever met. And as soon as I walked in, he's like, hey, Miss Elaine, how you doing? And he comes around the desk, and I was like, bring it in. Mama needs a hug. I just had a reading and I need a hug. So he gives me like the hug of all. I mean, he picked me up. He squeezed me so hard. He's this big, tall, black, luscious, happy man. And he picked me up and was like, oh, you get a hug from me anytime you want. I was like, thank you. So then I go into the locker room. I completely am grossed out by hot tubs. Like, I feel like it's the breeding ground for somebody else's disease that's like sitting there waiting to attach itself to me. And I had lunch with one of my members, who I'm hoping she's on here Debbie, we had lunch, and she said that her husband got really sick and almost died from getting in a hot tub that didn't have the right chemicals in it. He got some weird bacterial something and was in a medically induced coma from it. So ever since then, I'm even more freaked out by hot tubs. But during the reading, one of you said, you need to get in touch with your inner mermaid. And I'm like, I look at the ocean. I love the ocean, but I never go in it. I look at the hot tub. It looks relaxing. I never go in it. So I'm like, I'm in the spa and I'm in my robe and I'm naked as a jaybird underneath my robe. And I'm like, oh, if I at least had a bathing suit on, I would feel a little less naked in this water. But I'm like, I'm going in. Like, I'm doing everything different than I normally do because I want to be open to this shift. So I take off my robe and I get in the hot tub and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in the hot tub. I hope I'm not getting any funky illnesses. But I was just so open to, you know, what it could bring different because it's what I'm doing isn't working. I'm feeling nervous all the time and uptight all the time. So I'm in the hot tub and I'm like, I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go. I'm resting. I'm refilling. I'm rebooting. And I'm giving myself all these mantras. And I did a mini facial and a massage. And I get up on the rooftop, which is my favorite place in the whole wide world. You have like a beautiful 360 view of the ocean and you're up above everybody by myself. And the spa manager comes out and brings me, I don't even really drink a lot and I really don't drink champagne. So she brings me a glass in a beautiful crystal champagne flute and says, Randolph said you needed a hug. So we wanted to bring you some champagne. And she's like, stay up here as long as you like. We'll come get you when we're ready to close. And I was like, okay, mermaid, this is still happening. So whatever you did to me, whatever like Indian spell you put on me, just keep it coming because you're amazing. And I think that what you're doing, as we talked a little bit more business yesterday, and I was like, well, you know, how did we connect on this thing? What are you doing business wise? And you said you're helping people clean up their mess of their tech thing. And I think I think that we were also connected for that because I told you about my home screen and I have literally, my husband bitches all the time. I have like 3,000 emails in my inbox and none of them matter. It's just a matter of sitting there and going through all of them. But my dad is a major hoarder, like totally will never let go of anything, has entire garages filled with shit that he will never even remember that he has. So I was raised that way of like, hold on to it, stuff it in a drawer, just keep putting it somewhere else so that you have it. And it goes back to that theme from my life coaching of I'm not enough, I am not worthy. So it all ties in to, you know, you had said at one point, like, it seems corny to keep using the analogy, but it worked for me. It wasn't too woo-woo because I love Disney movies. I lived by them with my kids. I know we went to see the new Lion King, my husband and I. We go to Movie Tuesday for $5. So we're in the big comfy reclining chairs and every scene I would turn to my husband. I'm like, Simba, remember who you are. He's like, how the fuck do you know all the words to this? I'm like,
how do you not know all the words to that?
I'm like, do you know how many times I've had to watch this damn movie? It came out when the kids were babies, and that's the only time I could shower was when Simba was having his moment with his dad, looking into the water, saying, remember who you are. So we were dying laughing because it's all these years later. My kids are 21 and 25, and I still can recite every word to the Lion King. So Pocahontas, not as much, but enough that I remembered the lesson. So you had said, like, I have just enough Grandmother Willow. I have the wisdom and the experience, but I have the Pocahontas playful adventurer. And I'm trying to teach from my Pocahontas and I need to teach from my Grandmother Willow. And that was huge for me.
Bringing them together.
I need to bring them together. Because I was like, I need to break them up. And you're like, no, there's no breaking up. It's we love your playful Pocahontas. Like people watching are probably like, oh, no, we love this woo-woo reading. But there's going to be people that watch this. They're like, as soon as they see that I wasn't talking about 7N and 20 volume, they're like, peace out, I'm done. So I'll be curious. Like I'm looking right now and it says there's 18 live. I usually have like 65 live. So, and I knew that going into this. I was like, there's certain things you're not supposed to talk about politics. You're not supposed to talk about religion. But I'm like, this is just too good of a story not to share. And I'm not pushing it on anybody. I just am sharing that whatever causes that pause for you. It doesn't have to be an Akashic reading. It doesn't have to be meeting a naked woman that hangs out with owls. It doesn't have to be so crazy woo-woo. But if you're feeling that feeling inside of, oh my God, I'm on a treadmill, which I've felt for the last 7 years, that I'm on this hamster wheel that keeps spinning, and I keep, the hamster just keeps winding up at the bottom of the hamster wheel. That's how I kept feeling. So I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like this is the biggest kick in the ass that I needed, because all those things showed up for me. And of course, feathers every day. Like there's constant feathers on the beach every day. And just like, and then the other day you had said, you are a goddess and you're behaving like a princess, and you did the princess thing. And I was like, okay, I haven't seen any princess signs. So I'm walking back yesterday, and I thought I was at my hotel. Like sometimes it looks like it is, but it's the place next door. And then there's like this wall where you can't cross over. So I went in an area that I would never normally go accidentally. And I turn around and there's yet another sand monument. And it's the tower of like Rapunzel, like literally a tower that a princess would be in, with all the little notches and the gate and all that stuff. And I took a picture of that, and I'm like, okay, there's my princess. And we need to let her go, and we need to embrace goddess mentality of, you got this. I showed you yesterday, I record it, Tiff, on my phone, because the reading's 90 minutes. I can't carry that around.
She was so tickled to hear about that.
Did she like that? So I zoomed in with my phone, and she's like, you are safe. You are safe. You are safe. You've got this. You've got this. You cannot fail. And I was like, okay, I need this in my pocket, because when I have those drunk monkey, get off my shoulder, you drunk monkey, negative Nelly, then I get the beautiful email from the student yesterday saying, she's like, I waited so long to make this purchase because I didn't think that I had the money for it. It was my Hair Color Secrets, or my Hair Color Simplified. It's my very basic beginner formulation. And she's the one, she's 50 years old. She's like, I shouldn't need this basic course. But she said, I pulled out the old Discover card, and it was the best $297 I've ever spent. And I cannot wait to go back to work. And I'm reading it to my son, and I'm bawling. And he's like, are you okay? Like, you never cry, and you've been crying like since this weekend. You've been doing nothing but cry. And I'm like,
letting it go.
I was going to say, letting go, you need the cleansing tears. I can say I'll let it go all the time, but unless you like cry it out and really release it, the feeling of a good cry, that like if you have a good cry and take a nap and you wake up, you feel like you're 10 pounds lighter. So I've been embracing the tears, because I am that you hit the nail on the head. I never give up. I never back down. I'm like, I am not going to cry. You are not going to get to me. Like, I cry at funerals and I cry at sappy, happy cry movies, but I am not a victim. And you said that in the reading. You're like, I don't see any victim here at all. Like, you're not a victim. You're just somebody who is pushing too hard, and you need to allow for some stuff to just happen.
Well, it's like
ease up a little bit.
Yeah, it's like you got the message and you accepted it. You heard it. You were like, I'm not going to fight against this. And you learned in very simple ways how to make a little bit of space. And if the whole room is full, how is there room to get to the next level? How is there room to allow in the other dreams? You have to be able to let some of the old stuff go and clear out some space in order to make room. And I just think your story is so beautiful, because it really illustrates so perfectly the result that happens when you get that higher guidance. You finally get a really clear phone line, and you have a clear conversation with them, and you're like, okay. And just like we talked about the very beginning of this talk today, there's the signs are gentle. So you had the messages, and then you got confirmation again and again, and they were all very gentle. It's not like lightning bolts and hammers crashing on top of you. I mean, it's not going to be like that. They're gentle, they're sweet. And if you need them more than once, they'll come back to you, and, like, yeah, the bobcat might freak you out, but he's not there to attack you. He's there to deliver a confirmation for you that that archetype lives in you, that the energy is with you, that it's following you around, that it's got your back, that you can call upon all of those, the powers that are in there to do what you need to do. And then look what happened. Like, all these people are enrolling for your classes. And it's not because, I mean, on a very like surface logical level, yes, you know, you backed off, you gave them a chance. Like, if you're pushing, we all know when we're doing sales and business, it doesn't work. But you held space for them. You gave them room to then take the step forward, you know, and those are the kinds of people you want working with you anyway. So it's just bringing you further and further into that ideal alignment that you have for yourself. You know, this isn't the ideal we have for you. You know, your life is your life. You know, we're just cleaning up the connection in that phone conversation so that you can hear the message clearer.
You just said, you know, it's not like a big lightning bolt, obvious. And I forgot about something else that happened. Did I talk to you about that, about the power outage and the...
Oh, yeah. And you couldn't get out of the neighborhood.
Yeah. So I live in a neighborhood called Belle Vista in St. Pete Beach. It is adorable. It's one street. You go in, it's like a half a block, one street, and then it goes off this way. And the whole entire neighborhood, I'm not sure how many houses are back here, but it's a nice sized neighborhood. And the perimeter of the whole entire neighborhood is surrounded by water. And the people that are waterfront have boats and docks and all that stuff. And we're in the middle. And we can walk to the beach, which is nice. And to drive to the beach is like literally a 2-minute drive. And there's a little parking spot that we have. So my husband had said, like, you know, the only thing that kind of freaks me out is if there was a disaster, some kind of, you know, weather thing that you couldn't get out fast enough. Like, there's only one street and there's hundreds of houses. So I was like, yeah, that is kind of scary. But we logically said, you know, we'll have the weather app on our phone. We'll know if a hurricane's coming and we'll get the hell out of here. So I was alone that whole, 4 days. And my son finally came over to see me and he wanted to go to our favorite seafood restaurant. So he's like, can we go, to see critters? I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds good. And we got in the car. He's driving. We get to the corner and we're right where we would get out of the neighborhood and it's gridlock. And there's like probably 10 cars lined up and nobody's moving. And I've been here 7 months and it's never happened. So I'm like, and then when you're looking up to see what's going on, I said, oh, I got that awful feeling of dread. Like, I hope it's not someone got hit by a car and is killed. So I went on Waze and it said major crash on Waze. So I was like, oh no, somebody's really hurt. And then you saw helicopters coming. So I was like, oh no. So people started turning around and I'm like, well, where are they going? There's no other way out of here except for there. They must just be going home. So he's like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, let's wait and see what it is. So this girl walked up to the car and she said, lightning struck the power box at Walgreens. And that's that's the only other way you can cut through Walgreens to get out another way, but you have to get to that point and you couldn't get to that point. So she said, they said it's going to be at least an hour, hour and a half. So my son's like, oh, she said, but you can walk through. So I was like, okay, we'll just walk to dinner. So we turn around, we go home. And I said to my son, this is freaking me out because this was our biggest fear of not being able to get out. And I really thought it would be for a weather thing that we would be warned and we would have plenty of time to get out. And I said, Dad, like, I don't have a lot of food in the house. Like, if this was a situation where, all the power went out and the road was blocked by something and you couldn't get out, I'm like, I don't have food for us. Like, we have to go out to dinner because I have no food in the house. Yeah. So we walked to dinner. And while we were at dinner, all the power went out in the neighborhood and I didn't know it. So I said to him, it really freaks me out. I want to get like a generator because if we have no power, it's hot. Like, it's hot with the air on, So we're talking about all this. And I took my walk yesterday and on the way home, I saw somebody walking for the first time in the neighborhood. It's like 8:30 and he's walking this beautiful dog. And I said, can I ask you something? I said, has that happened a lot? Like, have you ever had another situation where you couldn't get out of this neighborhood? I said, it's really like unsettling to me. It's making me feel uncomfortable that I'm like trapped here. And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, the lightning hit that box. He said, oh, I didn't know what did it. I knew something happened, but he said, my buddy told me that, it got fixed right away. He said, but the power went out. And I said, no, I didn't even know that. I was out at a restaurant when that probably happened. And he's like, I got to tell you, I said, what's like the protocol for that? I said, I'm thinking, I don't have a boat. I can't get on a boat and get out of here. Like, I don't know anybody with a boat. And then I said, if it's a hurricane, you're not going to want to be on a boat. So I said, is there some kind of thing that they do for us, this neighborhood, if we can't get out of here? And he said, honestly, I've lived here for 25 years and I've never heard that happen. And I'm like, here's the weather witch. I go to Italy, a volcano erupts. I go to Italy again, there's an earthquake. I go to Arizona, some congresswoman gets shot in the face. Like everywhere I travel, something weird happens. So it's my Pocahontas grandmother Willow energy that brings weather weirdness. But I just kept thinking in my head of what Tiff said. You're safe, you're safe, you're safe. And I kept saying to my son, thank God you're here. I would not want to be alone because my story in my head would freak me out so much more than what it is. I was able to walk to dinner. I was able to walk back home. And by the time I got home, the power was on. Nothing bad happened. So I stress in all of my teaching, hair color or not, that the story we tell ourselves that the fear brings up in us is always 89% worse than the reality of the situation. Always. You've never heard a situation where a person was fearful and the outcome was worse than what they feared, ever. It's always just this big, scary story that we make up in our minds. And we have to find a way back to the reality of just see what happens. Do something different. Like I always tell people, you get on autopilot driving to work, drive a different route. Like just walk a different, like if you walk 5 miles a day, walk a different route. You're going to see different things than you wouldn't have seen before just by walking a different route.
Yeah. You know, everything we do is so emotionally based. Like in the readings Tiff and I do, obviously it's around our emotions, but I love that you pointed out even in your business, like there's emotions in that. I deal with people in technology when I'm doing my intersection business woo work, and I come at it from an emotional angle because we're emotional creatures and our emotions carry a lot of power in them. You know, we affect everything around us. And, you know, in whether you're getting intuitive guidance or you're just going through like everyday life, the more in tune you are with the ebbs and flows of your own emotional roller coasters, rides, you know, gentle or extreme, whatever the season is, you can navigate the waters better. You know, everything doesn't have to be either doom and gloom or unicorns and rainbows. Like there's a happy medium in there. It's all of those things like all the time. So I just love the way your reading has just opened these doors. To me, it feels like French doors opening and fresh air blowing in. And, you know, it's so beautiful to see. I mean, you're pretty awesome before we had your reading, but hearing about all the details that have happened since then and what it's allowed for you is just like, it's amazing. It's awesome.
Well, I hope that everyone that you have readings with has this type of, you know, physical in the realm of the universe, in person, normal, in front of you results, and not like something that you think in your head is more than it is. Like there's nothing that I wrote to you in that email is not provable. Like I have a picture for every single
You do.
step.
I saw that.
You know, and I did that on purpose because my husband's not a woo-woo guy and he's coming around. He's gotten better, but he's just like, oh, you know, he'll always try to explain away what like a medium will say or whatever. And then every once in a while I stump him where he's like, okay, yeah, you can't. Here's an example. We were in Vietnam, my son, my daughter, and my daughter was living in Thailand. And before she came home, we met her over there and we did Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam. And it was an amazing trip. Talk about hot. It was really hot. So the medium that I went to said that my godmother, who I was really close to, who passed years ago, that when she wants to send me a message, I'll find a shiny brand new dime in a place that you couldn't explain where it comes from. You know, you're just going to notice it out of the blue. So my kids all know this. I have a million dime stories. So my son bought this backpacker's backpack that was really cool. And it was like wrapped in plastic. And he said, you know what, I'm just going to open it and put my shit in there and I'll use it to travel home. Why try to pack it in a suitcase? So it's wrapped in sealed plastic in Vietnam, where they have Vietnam currency, no American dimes. And he opens up the plastic, opens up the bag. He's rolling up his stuff and he opens up the bag and a shiny American US dime flies out of the bag. And he's like, seriously, Mom? Seriously? So where was he? He was at my daughter's apartment recently. He stayed with her up in Philly. He was visiting his friends. And he said, I went down to do my laundry, and you have to go all the way down the basement. And it's kind of like, if you're not used to being down there, it's kind of like, oh, creepy basement. It's a typical basement feel. So he goes in the back, and he's notorious for having shit in his pockets. And we're always yelling at him because he'll have like a gum wrapper, and then all of our clothes have fuzz and, white shit all over from his gum wrapper. So he reached in his pocket and he pulled out a quarter, and he stuck it on the top of the washing machine and was like, oh, good thing I took that out, and puts it on top. And he said, I took the laundry detergent and I went to put the detergent in the thing, and I hit the quarter with the detergent bottle, and it started spinning, and it turned into a dime. And he's like, Mom, I can only tell you this because you're the only one weird enough to believe that this is true. He's like, I said, you don't have to convince me, and you don't have to tell me anything. I totally get it. I'm so weird. I love all that stuff. That's amazing. He showed me yesterday his sunglass case. He's carrying that dime around. He's like, whatever the hell that dime is, I was meant to have that. And whatever it brings to my life, I'm going to welcome it. So, I mean, I can't imagine the woman that he's going to marry, because he has all my weirdness and woo, and he's so open to everything.
She's out there.
She's out there, but I'm like, dude, you're going to have a hard time, because most girls are going to be like, this dude is not all there. But I wanted to open up a question because we're really long, and I could go on and on and on forever. Kim is amazing. Kim Fulmer is on all my coffee chats. She's in my program, and she had an amazing picture on, I'm going to bring up her question. She had a picture on her Facebook of a butterfly literally on the bridge of her nose, in between her glasses, sat on her face. I've never been blessed with that happening. You did mention butterflies in my reading.
I did.
So she wants to know, what does a butterfly landing on your nose mean?
So this is where I get into everything is so personal. The first thing I would do is pay attention to what kind of butterfly it was.
And I think it was like bright blue. I feel like, yeah. I don't know if she can share it with us, but.
And just like we were talking about with like the bobcat, or for me last night, it was a giant bullfrog. You can just do a quick Google search and type in like butterfly shamanic totem meeting something, and start going through some of the sites and look for the answers. You'll know what resonates with you. This is where you kind of have to get into that gentle space of allowing, because sometimes it's tempting to look for the things we want to hear. But if the butterfly has any other associations to other areas of your life, you want to pay attention to that too. Like for my partner, for Tiff, her mother always comes in the form of a monarch butterfly. So when we see monarch butterflies fly by, we're always like, hey, Mom. And she years and years ago made the connection with her higher self and a big black and yellow butterfly. And so whenever we see that, I know that something big is happening for her and her higher self, even if she's not with me physically in that moment. So I would pay attention to those things. The fact that it lands like right here on your nose is like, I have something to tell you. Like, I mean, that's basically your third chakra. It's like really trying to deliver a message. So I would pay attention to what was happening when it landed in your life. Maybe not necessarily in that moment, but like if you have been going through a season of certain kind of emotions, or good or bad, maybe it's confirming something for you. Maybe it's trying to give you a little bit more of that like blessing medicine energy. So I would pay attention to that. And sometimes I've noticed that, especially with these animal totems, like they show up over and over again for a while. So before we left Texas, deer medicine was like huge for us for a couple of years. Now that we're in Florida, partly it is where we're living, the types of animals that live here, but frogs and lizards have been just huge. And we have also had bobcat sightings. So we've been having some really magical animal sightings. But if butterflies are really showing up for you, see what happens when you just kind of relax and allow. But I would definitely look up that animal totem medicine, and then look up the colors. Like if the color, it's kind of like dream analysis. If the color is really popping out to you, that it was a blue butterfly, I would look up, the meaning of blue. I would look up what it's associated with. I had an experience with butterflies once in my life where for some reason the number of butterflies popped out at me. And so I went and I looked up the numerology of that, and it was amazing what that information brought to me. So that's how I would approach it.
That's awesome. And one thing that I wanted to just mention before we go is everybody has been to that boardwalk card reader gypsy. It's like $5 and they read your palm or whatever. And they're the ones that, they're the charlatans that make other people not do what your type of reading, because they're like, oh, that's all BS or whatever. And you can just totally tell, like, you'll go and then your girlfriend will go and you're sharing your story and it's the same damn story. And she just keeps saying, like, I see a dark-haired male. And it's like, who doesn't have a dark-haired male in their life? You know what I mean? This is not that. Trust me, guys, this is so not that. And I didn't know what to expect with the combination, and I didn't know what to expect with the virtual part of it. But I can only imagine how amazing your in-person readings are going to be at the retreat, because you're going to feel their energy and be in their space and have the cards to guide you along the way. So I am beyond excited. So the retreat, guys, if you don't know what we're talking about, my Hair Color Secrets Insider members have been given the information on the retreat. I wanted to make sure to offer it to all of them first. And then if it doesn't fill with the, the inner circle members, then I'm going to open it up to other people. And Ginger is going to be there. She's going to do a little bit of, we haven't decided yet if she's going to do like a sample reading or a lecture, or just she's going to be amazing, whatever she does. And we're going to allow it. Whatever happens, we're not going to overly plan. And then she's going to do individual readings. And while she's doing people's readings, we'll all be doing another activity, like vision boarding, something else in that woo-woo world during that. And it's going to be amazing. We have a lot of fun things planned, and just the synchronicity of Ginger being in Florida is just a special gift for me, because part of this retreat was I was adamant about keeping it inexpensive and affordable, because most retreats are $5,000 or more. Every retreat I've ever gone on has been magical and amazing, but very expensive, not to mention far away. Like I did Sedona, which is a very magical spiritual area. I did Miraval in Arizona, and I've gotten gifts and special experiences with all of them. But what I found is it doesn't have to be a big fancy resort in a big fancy place. It just has to be like-minded people in community, spending time together, doing exercises that, put you into things that you wouldn't normally experience, that can be the magic that you need. And we're right on the water. So there's always something about being on water and having that atmosphere. So the retreat is only $397. It's 2 days. It includes your breakfast and lunch. Of course, you still need your flight and the hotel, but the hotel is literally right next door. And she's made the rate really affordable. You can put 4 in a room. So there's no excuse of I can't afford it, because it literally would be like less than $50 a girl a night for the hotel. And depending on what part of the country you're from, Tampa is usually less than $300 to get to. So I would like to see all of you, but I hope to see most of you and get to meet you, because for me, Ginger and I had this virtual relationship that was great, but meeting and having coffee in person, like it was so cute, because when I walked in, I've never online dated. I can only imagine how nerve-wracking it is. But like driving there, I didn't have any kind of like butterfly feeling, because I was like, I already know her. I've already talked to her twice on the screen. So I know what she looks like. I know everything, not everything about her, but I know about her personality. So I was like, oh, hey girl, did you order your coffee yet? What are you getting? Da, 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 so the online space has just made the world so much smaller and so amazing. And I love you. I love what you do. And I want everybody to check out your website, because there's so much more than this. Like, she can help you organize your inbox. She does feng shui. She's talking about the moon. I just signed up for 2 of her workshops in the next.
Yeah, I'm doing one tomorrow.
The 29th.
So if you go to my website, you can sign up for the newsletter. I'll be sending a fresh one today. I got so many website updates to do too, but if people want to book a reading, they can go there to sensiblewoo.com and find out information. You can always message me. But I'm really excited to meet everybody at your retreat too. I just think the serendipity of everything coming together, like there's no coincidences in that. And I just think everyone's going to have such a wonderful time with you. You're clearly a wonderful leader, and you know your shit. So maybe I shouldn't have sworn on Facebook. I'm sorry. And yeah, I think we'll just have a really good time. Everyone's going to have such a wonderful time with you. Did it pause again?
Yeah, pause again. I was just making sure that
Okay.
that I didn't miss anything, but I'm sure whatever you said was wonderful, and it's amazing to have you. And I think for you and I, we got real paused and real patchy, but my husband said it was fine on their end.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that everybody got everything they needed. Once again, www.sensiblewoo.com. Check out her website. You can do a low-cost reading. You can do a complete. I did the 90-minute. What was mine called? It was like
yours was called A Sense of Wholeness for 148.
And you gave me wholeness. You gave me hugs. You gave me my inner Pocahontas, and I love you. And thank you so much for being so spontaneous. I asked you yesterday for today, and I know how busy you are, and I know you have this trip coming up, and hopefully I will see Tiff while you're away. We can get together and
I'm hoping you guys get together too. Yeah, it would be awesome.
We need to go see Pocahontas on Broadway.
Yes, maybe if they bring a traveling show to Tampa,
and enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you have magic happen in your day, and I hope everybody else does. And I hope you all enjoyed the woo. I promise to be back next week talking all about 7N and getting back to business as usual, but I really could not share this. So thank you so much. Have an awesome day, Ginger.
Thank
and have a great, safe trip. I'll talk to you when you get back.
Yeah, I'll talk with you soon.
Okay.
Bye.